I was lying on a hammock on the black sand beaches of Monterrico, Guatemala, and up rolled this motorcycle all the way on the beach to the cabana next to me. And this man was quite the spectacle. He was covered in full protective and reflective gear from head to toe, which is a little bit rare in these parts. And so I proceeded to watch, let's call him Charlie, totally transform himself. His helmet and his goggles were switched out for a baseball hat and sunglasses. He was humming and grinning to himself as he stripped down to his boxers to don on swim trunks and a t-shirt that said Hawaii right across the top of it. He reached into the saddlebags of his motorcycle and he pulled out a radio. Yes, pulled up the antenna and started playing the oldies. You'd think this was enough, but no, something wasn't quite right. And so the waiter, as he summoned him, came over to reposition the umbrella to shade him just right from the sun rays. And as a final touch, he grinned, he held up his ice cold beer and snapped a selfie. Everything in me wanted to live my best life like Charlie was. But the contrast was just utterly striking because this beach was my brief escape from my real life, which was lived in the valley of the shadow of death. Do you know the valley that I'm referring to, that pit, that dark night of the soul that descends on you when you least expect it, when you feel broken and needy and far away from God? You see, my descent, it started about 16 months ago with the disclosure of my husband's betrayal. And then my grief was pushed aside altogether as he descended into mental illness, suicidal depression, and violence and separation. And I was trying to hold myself together in utter exhaustion. Do you know that utter exhaustion of death? Maybe for you it's miscarriage or divorce or addiction, abuse, financial ruin. We hate that valley of the shadow of death. Poet Mary Oliver gorgeously captures that liminal space as she writes, "Tell me what else I should have done. Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" And I thought of Charlie. I mean, he was living his best life. But how do you live that one wild and precious life when it seems like God is against you? But I found that there are choices of who we journey with, even in the valley. You see, I may not be able to force away my unwanted companions of grief and loss and depression and anger, but I could choose to stop fighting them. I can't control the darkness that descends around me, but you know what I can choose? I can choose to not fear it. And so after resisting and hating that dark valley for so long, I finally invited the darkness to teach me, and it illuminated 3 other waiting companions: hope and faith and love. In Scripture, Hebrews says that we have this hope as an anchor for our tempest-tossed soul, firm and secure. That is Jesus Christ. And Jesus says that if we have faith even as tiny, small as a mustard seed, that even then we can find the impossible made possible. And love is not bound by our circumstances. Love with a capital L, love never fails. So friend, whatever your season is, maybe you're living your best life or you are slogging through the valley of the shadow of death, consider choosing hope and faith and love. And then tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?